Spiritual Counsels of Father de Caussade. 1. Conformity to the Will of God. Written in 1731 to Sister Marie-Thérèse de Vaumenil, in the 9th year of her profession and the 28th of her age. For the attainment of perfect conformity to the will of God. First, at the beginning of each day, and of meditation, Mass, and communion, declare to God that you desire to belong to Him entirely, and that you will devote yourself wholly to acquiring the spirit of prayer and of the interior life. Second, make it your chief study to conform yourself to the will of God, even in the smallest things, saying in the midst of the most annoying contradictions, and with the most alarming prospects for the future, "My God, I desire with all my heart to do your holy will. I submit in all things and absolutely to your good pleasure for time and eternity, and I wish to do this, O my God, for 2 reasons. First, because you are my sovereign Lord, and it is but just that your will should be accomplished. Secondly, because I am convinced by faith and by experience that your will is in all things as good and beneficent as it is just and adorable, while my own desires are always blind and corrupt. Blind, because I know not what I ought to desire or to avoid. Corrupt, because I nearly always long for what would do me harm. Therefore, from henceforth, I renounce my own will to follow yours in all things. Dispose of me, O my God, according to your good will and pleasure. Third, this continual practice of submission will preserve that interior peace which is the foundation of the spiritual life, and will prevent you from worrying about your faults and failings. You will put up with them instead with a humble and quiet submission, which is more likely to cure them than an uneasy distress, only calculated to weaken and discourage you. Fourth, think no more about the past, but only of the present and future. Do not trouble about your confessions, but accuse yourself simply of those faults you can remember after 7 or 8 minutes examine. It is a good thing to add to the accusation a more serious sin of your past life. This will cause you to make a more fervent act of contrition, and dispose you to receive more abundantly the grace of the sacrament. You should not make too many efforts to get rid of the obstacles which make frequent confession disagreeable to you. Fifth, to escape the distress caused by regret for the past or fear about the future, this is the rule to follow. Leave the past to the infinite mercy of God, the future to His good providence. Give the present wholly to His love, by being faithful to His grace. Sixth, when God in His goodness sends you some disappointment, one of those trials that used to annoy you so much, before all thank Him for it, as for a great favor all the more useful for the great work of your perfection, in that it completely overturns the work of the moment. Seventh, try, in spite of interior dislike, to show a kind face to troublesome people, or to those who come to chatter about their troubles. Leave at once prayer, reading, choir office, in fact anything, to go where Providence calls you, and do what is asked of you quietly, peacefully, without hurry, and without vexation. Eighth, should you fail in any of these points, make immediately an act of interior humility, not that sort of humility full of uneasiness and irritation, against which St. Francis of Sales said so much, but a humility that is gentle, peaceful, and sweet. This is a matter essential for overcoming your self-will, and to prevent you becoming a slave to your exterior or interior devotion. Ninth, we must understand that we can never acquire true conformity to the will of God until we are perfectly resolved to serve Him according to His will and pleasure, and not to please ourselves. In everything look to God, and you will find Him everywhere, but more especially where you have most completely renounced yourself. When you are thoroughly convinced that of yourself you are incapable of doing any good, you will give up making resolutions, but will humbly confess to God, "My God, I acknowledge after many trials that all my resolutions are useless. Doubtless I have hitherto depended too much on myself, but you have abased me. You alone can do all things. Make me, then, do such and such a thing, and give me, when necessary, the recollection, energy, and strength of will that I require. Without this, I know from my former sad experiences, I shall never do anything. 10th. To this humble prayer, add the practice of begging pardon at once or as soon as possible of all those who witnessed any of your little impetuosities or outbursts of temper. It is most important for you to practice these counsels for 2 reasons. First, because God desires to do everything in you himself. Secondly, on account of a secret presumption, which, even in the midst of so many miseries, prevents you referring everything to God, until you have experienced 1,000 times how absolutely incapable you are of performing any good. When you become thoroughly convinced of this truth, you will exclaim almost without reflection when you act rightly, "O my God, it is you who do this in me by your grace." And when you do wrong, "This is just like me. I see myself as I am." Then will God be glorified in all your actions, because he will be proved to be the sole author of all that is good. This is your path. All the misery and humiliation you must take on yourself, and render to God the glory and thanks that are his due. All the glory to him, but all the profit to you. You would be very foolish not to accept with gratitude a share so just and so advantageous.